Hey there, fellow educators, and honestly, anyone who's ever wondered what would happen if we actually listened to teachers for once. I'm Leah Cleary, and this is If Teachers Ruled the World. You know, after 25 years in the classroom, I've learned that teaching isn't really about having all the answers. It's about being brave enough to ask the right questions, and maybe, just maybe, admitting when we have no idea what we're doing, which, let's be honest, happens more often than we'd like to admit. So grab your coffee, or whatever, and let's talk about the real stuff, the messy, imperfect, sometimes beautiful reality of what it's like to shape young minds while trying to keep our own sanity intact. Because if we're going to change the world, we might as well be honest about what that actually looks like. All right, let's dive in.
Hey everyone, welcome back to If Teachers Ruled the World. I'm Leah Cleary, and I am breaking with my typical format this month because, guys, it is December, so instead of interview, policy, and wellness episodes, I'm doing tips until the new year. It just makes sense to me. We're all trying to wrap up this semester and prep for next semester, so tips. This year, I'm teaching AP World History, Regular World History, and World Geography at a high school in Georgia. And listen, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I cannot wait for winter break. I just finished grading a huge stack of LEQs, and for those of you who don't teach AP, that's long essay questions. I still have SAQs, short answer questions, to grade, and then I have first semester exams to grade after next week. For my AP students, that is 55 multiple choice questions, 3 SAQs, and another LEQ per student. We don't start DBQs until January, which is really good for me because I do not think I can handle one more thing right now. I'm tired. I don't want to do any of this at all. But here's the thing. I have 60 AP students who also don't want to do any of this either. They're tired too. I told one of my AP students this week that, yeah, we'd be reviewing for exams, but also getting some new content this week. And she looked at me like I just kicked a cute and cuddly little puppy. And honestly, I get it. It's December. Winter break is days away, and their brains checked out last week, along with mine. But we still have content to cover. We still have exams to take, so we're all just pushing through together. And that's what this episode is about. How to teach when you're running on fumes and your students are already mentally on winter break. This isn't about being inspiring or Instagram worthy. This is about survival mode teaching and making it to December 20th with learning intact and relationships preserved. So today I'm talking about one strategy I'm using this week. A gallery walk. Now, I use gallery walks all the time. I've even used this specific gallery walk that I'm using. It's on Revolutions before, and it went really well. But what has me a little bit nervous this week is the timing and the stakes. You see, this is the last week before exams. I have all these AP World History students, and we are so content heavy that we really can't afford to take a full week for review right now. We'll hopefully get that luxury in May before the actual AP exam, but right now, we're still covering content and trying to review and trying to keep them engaged when their brains are already on winter break. Along with mine, to be honest. Oh, and they're going to write an LEQ about revolutions on this semester exam. They know the topic ahead of time, it's revolutions, but they won't know the specific prompt until exam day. So this gallery walk isn't just engagement for engagement's sake. It's strategic. It's content review. It's skill building for the LEQ. and is keeping 60 sophomores moving and thinking when they'd literally rather be anywhere else. So, yeah, I'm a little nervous because I need this to work. We don't have time for it to just be a fun activity. It has to be rigorous and it has to stick. I just published a blog post that I think is really helpful about 10 total participation techniques that actually work, even in December. I lay out 10 great strategies for you to use, and I even added this particular gallery walk that I'm talking about today to my free resource library. I'll link to the blog post and how you can sign up for my free resource library, for free, of course, in the show notes. But the blog post does link to everything too. You can access it at leahcleary.com/10 total participation techniques. For those who haven't done gallery walks before, here's the basic idea. You set up stations around the room, or in my case, in the hallway, with different content, questions, or tasks. I call them stations for organization, but students move around freely, unlike with actual stations. See, students move from station to station, processing the information and recording their thinking. It gets them out of their seats, it breaks up the monotony of lecture, and when you do it right, it's really cognitively engaging. The key is that it's not just walking around looking at stuff. There has to be accountability. There has to be thinking happening at each station, and there needs to be some way to process or synthesize at the end. So here's what my Revolutions Gallery walk looks like. I'm hanging these in the hallway, 5 stations total. Each station has some historical context, a primary source, and 2 accompanying questions that students answer based on that source. Now, this is doing a lot for me, which is why I chose it for this particular week. First, they're getting Revolution content that they need for the LEQ. But second, and this is key, we're practicing HIP source analysis. That's historical situation, intended audience, point of view, and purpose. We don't start writing DBQs until January. We are building a lot of skills from the ground up in AP World History. But HIP analysis is the foundation for that. So right now in December, when I'm exhausted and they're exhausted, I'm violently killing 2 birds with 1 stone. They're reviewing Revolution content and practicing source analysis skills they're going to need in a few weeks. Students are going to have 2 class periods to work through all 5 stations. They can work with a partner if they want, or they can work alone. I'm leaving that flexible because some students think better collaboratively and some need to process independently. But everybody's writing. Everybody's analyzing these sources and answering the questions. Now, the day before they start, I'm going to model the first station with them. We're going to do one together so that they can see what I'm expecting, how to read the context, how to approach the primary source, how to think about HIP, how to answer the questions thoughtfully. Because if I just turn them loose without modeling, some of them will skim and write surface level answers just to get it done. And in December, that temptation is stronger than ever. Again, this whole resource is in my free resource library at leahcleary.com/free resource library. You can sign up for free, grab it, and modify it for whatever Revolution content you're teaching. Or honestly, modify it for any content where you want students analyzing primary sources. I'm also linking to the free resource library sign-up form in the show notes. Here's why I chose a gallery walk for this particular week, even though if I'm honest, I am very nervous about the timing. Movement matters right now. When students are mentally checked out, sitting still and listening to me talk is absolute torture for them and for me, to tell you the truth. Getting them up and moving in the hallway, rotating through stations, that resets their brains a little bit. It's not magic, but it does help. It's self-paced. There's no set time at each station. If a student needs more time with a particularly complex source, they can take it. If another student moves through faster, that's fine too. That flexibility matters in December when some kids are just barely holding it together. The hallway factor. Don't underestimate it. There's something about being outside of the classroom that makes it feel less like school and more like an activity. It's a tiny psychological shift, but I'll take any advantage I can get right now. It's active, not passive. They have to analyze sources, think about HIP, answer questions. They can't just zone out and pretend to listen like they can during a lecture. The work is visible to them and to me. It's social, but it's also structured. They can work with partners and chat a little bit while they work, which they desperately need to do right now. But the structure of the stations and the questions keep them on task. It's not just free social time. And we all know if you don't have accountability built in, especially in December, a gallery walk becomes social hour in the hallway. Students just wander around chatting and not actually engaging with the content. So here's my accountability system for this. They're writing answers to specific questions. It's not just, look at this source and think about it. They have concrete questions to answer at each station. That's their accountability. They're producing written analysis. I'm monitoring constantly. I'm going to be in the hallway, walking around while they're working. I'll fill in gaps for them, answer questions, model source analysis if they're stuck, redirect if they're off task. I'm paying really close attention to who's actually engaging with the sources and who's just copying their partner's answers or rushing through. Now, the proof is in the LEQ. I am not grading this gallery walk itself. This is practice. This is formative. But they're going to write an LEQ about revolutions on their exam. If they didn't actually engage with these sources and think about revolution patterns, it's going to show up in that essay, and I'm going to make sure they are aware of this. So, there's built-in high-stakes accountability, even though this specific activity is not graded. That's intentional on my part. In December, I cannot grade one more thing. I just can't. But they need to know this does matter. So I'm connecting it explicitly to the exam they're about to take. This is setting them up for two things they need. First, the LEQ they're writing on the exam. They know it's going to be about revolutions. They're analyzing different revolutions through these sources, looking at causes, effects, patterns. They're comparing them. That content knowledge and the comparative thinking, that's exactly what they need for the LEQ. Second, DBQ skills for January. We start DBQs next semester, and HIP analysis is the foundation. If they can't analyze sources for historical situation, intended audience, point of view, and purpose, they can't write a strong DBQ. So right now, while we're reviewing revolutions, they're also continuing to build that skill. After they finish the gallery walk, after they've worked through all 5 stations, we're doing a synthesis activity. It's going to be an exit ticket where they practice writing a thesis statement for a revolution prompt, nothing elaborate, just here's a prompt, not the same one you're going to get on the exam. Write a thesis that addresses it based on what you just learned. That's going to tell me really quickly who actually processed the content and who just went through the motions. And it's going to help them see the connection between this gallery walk activity and the actual essay they're about to write. I've done this particular gallery walk before and it went really well, but I'm still a little nervous because December is just so unpredictable. Here's what I'm watching for. I'm watching for time. See, we have 2 class periods for this. That should be enough, but if students are really dragging or if the sources are more complex than I think they are, we might run short. And I can't really extend it because exams are next week. Another thing is hallway management. Having 30 students in the hallway working at different stations means it will be difficult for me to see everyone at once. There could be pockets of off-task behavior that I might miss. I'm going to have to be really intentional about circulating and checking in. Then there's surface level analysis. My biggest worry is that students will answer the questions, they'll write something down, but not actually think deeply about HIP or about revolution patterns. That's where my questioning while I circulate becomes really important. I need to push them beyond just what does it say to what does this tell us about how revolutions happen? My energy level is the last thing. If I'm being honest, and I think I've been pretty honest here, I am tired. Circulating and monitoring and questioning for 2 full class periods across multiple sections, that takes energy I'm not sure I have right now. But I'm going to do it anyway because this matters. But you know what? Even if it's imperfect, it's better than me lecturing at glazed over faces. That's what I keep telling myself. So we're going to do this. If you're thinking about doing a gallery walk this week or next, here are some practical tips. Model the station first. Seriously, don't skip this. Even if your students have done gallery walks before, show them what you're expecting. Do one station together, think aloud through your analysis, show them what a good answer looks like. 10 minutes of modeling could save you hours of frustration. Keep it manageable. 5 stations feel like a lot, but each station is pretty focused. 1 source, 2 questions, that's manageable. If you're creating your own gallery walk, do not try to do 10 elaborate stations. 4 to 6 is just plenty. Make the hallway work for you. If you can hang things in the hallway, do it. Students love being out of the classroom. But also, be strategic about where you hang stations. Spread them out enough so that students aren't crowding each other out, but keep them close enough so that you can see most students at once. Flexible grouping. I'm letting students choose whether to work alone or with a partner. In December, that flexibility matters. Some kids need the collaboration to stay engaged. Some kids need quiet to focus. I'm going to let them make that choice because I am too tired to. Please don't grade everything. This is formative. This is practice for something else. In my case, LEQs and DBQs. I'm going to look at their answers. I'm going to give feedback, but I'm not putting this in the grade book and I'm not spending hours grading it. If you're grading everything in December, you, my friend, are going to burn out even faster. Make sure you connect it to something that matters. The only reason this gallery walk has teeth at this point in time is because it's connected to their exam. They know the LEQ is about revolutions. They know this is practice. That connection makes them take it more seriously, even though it's not graded. Here's what I want you to hear. You don't have to reinvent the wheel this week. You don't have to create the most amazing, innovative lesson plan. You need to get your students to winter break with some learning happening and your sanity mostly intact. That's the key. A gallery walk is one strategy. Maybe it works for your content, maybe it doesn't. But the principle is the same. Find ways to keep your students active and engaged that don't require you to be on and performing for 50 or 90 minutes straight, because you are exhausted too. Again, this Revolutions Gallery Walk is in my free resource library at leahcleary.com/free resource library. You can grab it and modify it for whatever content you're teaching, or you can create your own with sources you already have. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to keep them thinking. And be sure to check out my blog post, 10 total participation techniques that actually work even in December. You can access it at leahcleary.com/10 total participation techniques. I'm linking to everything in the show notes for you. Just remember, that's enough. You're doing enough. We're almost there. Winter is coming, which means winter break is coming. We can do this. Next week, I'm going to talk about what I'm doing in world history and world geography when I actually have to lecture right before the break. Because sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes the content requires direct instruction, and we just have to make it work in December. So, I'll share some strategies for keeping students awake and thinking when you're talking at them. Until then, survive this week, try the gallery walk if it works for your content, or pick something else. Anything that gets your students moving and thinking. That's all you need to do. Thanks for listening to If Teachers Ruled the World. I'm Leah Cleary, and I want you to take care of yourself.
That's it for this week on If Teachers Ruled the World. Be sure to subscribe, share with a teacher friend, and join the conversation at leahcleary.com. Until next time, keep ruling your classroom and rewriting the rules.